Superhighway. And wasn't that really created by Viacom, the chairman, in a speech about a year and a half ago, first coined that phrase, and now it's become a buzzword in the technology industry.
I suppose Al Gore says that he's created part of that
everybody's
too.
Taking credit for that.
Everybody's taking credit for the information.
What's it really mean,
superhighway.
and who's involved in it?
You know, we're all involved in it, and that's the one thing that we have to realize, is that it's not just the big companies that are bringing new systems of wiring our homes and new CD-ROMs and computers into our homes and all of that. This is really as different as, well, Steven Spielberg has compared it to the Industrial Revolution. There's talk now of this being the second Industrial Revolution. That we're talking about. First, people were talking about the information age, but we've gone almost beyond that. The technology has become increasingly complex. How it will affect someone that's in high school today. If you haven't taken a computer course, I don't think you're going to be able to work at McDonald's even.
Probably not. So this highway sort of connects everything we've been using in little pieces. We've had cable TV for about 20 years. We've had computers for about the same length of time, since the 1970s. And telephone's been around, of course, forever.
Sure.
And it's sort of going to connect the whole system into this vast universe of knowledge and entertainment.
Right. We have this convergence, you know, of a number of industries. Publishing, of course. You've said music. Film, 100 years old. I mean, it was bound to change at this point. Delivery systems of film, as we talked about. So a number of industries converging together, the least of which not is the consumer electronics industry. And what's going to happen here is, I mean, not what we've come up with now, and the attention to this is the fact that the CD-ROMs have reached what's called mass penetration. When you've gone beyond 10 million of anything, whether it's a VCR, you suddenly have somebody's brother that has a color TV down the street, and you want to see it. Now you have somebody that has one of these things that plays the games. Okay, so if you don't have it, somebody else has it. Or you may have it, and you've got a plant sign on it. You don't really know you have it anymore. You know.
Do you see these different companies from different industries, let's say like cable TV companies, competing against phone companies, or do you see more cooperation and interaction between these types of companies?
I think you're going to see competition, definitely, and you're going to see independent companies coming up. One of the ones is coming out of creative artist agency called TV. Howard Springer's head of that. Mike Ovitz, of course, is the kingpin on that, who was just up for consideration at MCA. And basically they're going to provide television via the telephone lines starting next spring. Now, not interactive, but regular television with the convergence with Pacific Bell and a number of the other telephone companies.
How is that different from the cable TV that we all know and that we're on right now?
You know, we're talking about competition, and we're talking about the use of the telephone as a communications industry, not just as a telephone industry. Like the telecommunications industry is dramatically different, so that we're going to have cable's a fairly heavily regulated industry. Now, the telephone industry, as it moves into this, may or may not be. And we're waiting to see what happened to these telco bills. These telco bills have been in and out of Congress, and what happens with it depends on how regulated these industries will be compared to the cable industry, which is a really pretty, and a fairly political industry on the local level. I mean, Beverly Hills didn't have cable TV for a long time. Basically, it was a local concern.
And a great many number of analysts, and I know cable TV executives agree with this, that they've been unfairly singled out as an industry, and we've seen many of the stocks have not done too well in the last 5 years. Telecommunications Inc., which is the largest
TCI, of course, right,
provider in the United States, has been hurt quite badly by this excess regulation.
But they're still a major player in this new technology. Most of the big cable companies are.
Now, we're in a showbiz Hollywood kind of town here. How will multimedia and interactive production of motion pictures change the face of what we see now on the screen?
Well, what in Hollywood is the ultimate multimedia is really movies, right, people? You want to, You have an interaction of film and sound, and you have movement, and you have getting some sort of interaction with the human being in emotion. So to most of Hollywood, multimedia, the ultimate multimedia is still the movie and the film and the blockbuster film.
Do you see more interactive films coming?
You know, what I see is bigger digital special effects. And if you look at some of the films out right now, as we move into summer of '95, we've got the biggest films with the ones with the special effects involved with it, or else the little heartwarmers, too.
Right.
You still have the
Batman
Forrest Gumps.
Forever
Yeah,
coming
Batman
out.
Forever, certainly.
Right.
So digital special effects seem to be the other big blockbusters that don't have special effects seem to not do as well. And we're wondering if it's the teenagers in the marketplace who demand these special effects, or if
I
it's
think it is.
just,
I'll go along with that one.
Right, that's more important than the whole idea of interactivity. There was a company called Interfilm that was allied with Sony that looked as if it was really going to take off, and now appears to be regrouping under financial considerations. And they had interactive films, and they were at the AMC theater chain across the country in various test markets, and they actually had an ability to change an ending, you know, which is very controversial. I mean,
right,
who
that
wants
didn't get
their
such
ending
good.
Changed, right?
Didn't get good reviews the
Right,
first time around, anyway.
And they try to reposition it as games, but we don't know what's going to happen with that.
Right, and there's Silicon Graphics incorporated in Northern California,
Right.
which did all those wonderful dinosaurs for
Jurassic Park, and
they're
Silicon
working on a new one.
Graphics is a big company. You've got to remember one of the other areas that we're talking about when we think about multimedia is location-based entertainment. Of course, we know that from Universal Studios, from the big rides or interactive experiences that you see, but all across country we're having interactive companies, virtual worlds, interesting companies, these virtual reality experiences that are coming to the strip malls in the United States. Smaller areas across the country are having either virtual reality kind of experiences that you can go into, or these are actual virtual worlds is now going into cineplexes. So watch for your cineplex to change dramatically.
Right. And what do you think, what's your read on this new company that was started up by Steven Spielberg, Bill Gates, the Dream Team, as they call themselves maybe, David Geffen, and Katzenberg, who brought all those great animated classics to Disney recently. It's called DreamWorks.
DreamWorks.
It's a private company. I know there's a lot of people, including myself, would like to buy stock if it ever goes public, but with the money they have, they may never go public.
With the money that they're raising, certainly.
Are there any projects that are underway at DreamWorks that you know about at this point?
Well, the only one that I really know about for sure is a spin-off of this, which Steven Spielberg is doing, and it's called the Starbright Foundation. This is an interesting company. There's a company called UB Networks up in Northern California. I don't know if they're public or not, but they are putting together children's hospitals across the United States so that ill children can talk to each other on an internet kind of service.
Is there video involved?
Network, yes,
oh,
video
wonderful.
systems, and it will be on ATM, asynchronous transfer mode kind of connections across the United States. And so that's an exciting experience. Now, Spielberg says that's separate from his
studio.
His new studio, the Dream Team.
Right.
And we'll see. There's supposed to be a lot of effort on multimedia, and they're projecting, I believe, the first projects to come out in '97. So we're not going to see a whole lot until then. We may see some more announcements, though.
Right. Looking at the television industry, and I remember back to the early roots of pay television, we had services that some of our younger viewers have never heard of. They're long gone. On TV, which was over-the-air pay television, and also a company locally in Marina Del Rey called Select TV, long gone.
Right.
Do you see some of these newer companies or existing companies, maybe cable TV altogether, going by the wayside and being replaced by satellite systems, or maybe a new virtual interactive medium, maybe run by Bill Gates himself, if they let him in the door, taking over what we now know as television? Or do you see all these different components existing in harmony in the future?
Well, we keep looking at this, and people used to say that television was going to replace film, and that film was going to replace radio.
Right.
And when you look at what's happened, actually, is they've each led to additional revenue streams. Now, whether this will actually happen, I think that people will always want to go out and see a blockbuster film, okay? But what we're concerned about really in our lifetime and in our investment lifetime is the next 20 years.
Right.
20, 30,
That's
40,
a good
50
time
years. But 20 for most of us, and up into our retirement era or whatever, or if we can retire early, hopefully.
Right.
And I think we're going to see the networks involved. They will experiment certainly with different programming, different demographics. We haven't seen much innovation in terms of interactive television. The original projection was about 40% of all homes would have interactive television by the year 2000. It's down to about 8% right now.
Well, there was a network, I think it was called QUE network. I don't know if you
Cube,
remember that.
Cube.
There you go. It had a
Columbus,
B in there.
Ohio, right.
Yeah, and I think what put them out of business was they ran a college football game once, and they had the viewers call the plays, and it created, the first publicity for this new medium, and almost immediately it went under after that. I don't know if that was the cause.
I don't know what all caused their demise.
But it sounded great and futuristic and all that, and now we don't see that, at least on cable systems that I know of.
Right. The full-service network does offer some different views that you can see. GT Imagitrek, there are a number of tests going on. Castro Valley in California, Carlsbad, California, where you can actually have interactive television in your home. Cerritos had it for a while. I'm not sure they still have it. And usually what you have is 1,000, 2,000 to 10,000 homes wired, okay, for the interactive television.
So it's a matter of bringing the
test.
service, or maybe the consumer's not wanting it at this point in time. Now we have about 3 minutes left. I want to get to a very important topic because you are an expert at counseling people on career changes. In fact, you've helped over 20,000 people in your own career doing this. Now, what are the necessary computer skills right now in 1995 that you recommend all of our professional viewers acquire if they haven't learned them by now?
Well, one of the most important skills is to be able to change careers in any area, to successfully re-career, as I say in my book. And the other thing is to be able to at least have knowledge of the IBM system, to know WordPerfect, to know Microsoft Word, to begin to understand spreadsheets, to be able to use a Mac if one's put in front of you. So some very basic skills, and I suggest that you go to class if you haven't, rather than trying to do this at home yourself.
Right. Now, a problem that some employees out there might have is that they're in a low-tech environment. Their bosses, the heads of corporations are slow to make these changes, especially if they've been with running the company 20, 30, 40 years when these technologies weren't even out there.
Right.
Now, what should someone do in that situation? Should they learn on their own?
Well, most of the community colleges offer courses. There are some of the groups like Learning Annex that offer low-budget courses. Most of the high schools' extension programs, evening programs offer courses. They're very low cost for the summertime that you can get into and take a course, and I strongly recommend that you do that.
And finally, what do you think is going to be some of the hot businesses in the next millennium and careers that are really going to take off?
Well, I'm big on 300,000 new jobs in the wireless industry alone. Certainly the whole multimedia interactive industry is an exciting one to look at. Healthcare, certainly, as we all begin to age. The leisure industry, the entertainment economy, that whole area, whether it's television, film, or whether it's travel and hospitality industry.
It's just going to take off and boom.
Absolutely. We're going to have more time available to entertain ourselves.
Excellent advice for our viewers out there. Joyce Schwarz, on behalf of our viewers, I thank you for being on my show tonight. Remember, the name of her book, again, just released recently in paperback, is called Multimedia, Gateway to the Next Millennium. If you want more information about tonight's show, please call or fax the number you'll see at the end of the credits. Also, if you want a free copy of my newsletter, you can contact me at those numbers as well. Thank you again for watching Smart Investing for the 90s.